Recently, I heard someone say to me, it's a choice. You can get busy living or get busy dying. And when they said that, it brought to mind the article that our next guest wrote for Healing Magazine. Kelly Bauer is the executive director of the Center for Animal Health and Welfare. It's a shelter organization based in Easton, Pennsylvania. And she wrote an extraordinary remembrance of a stray dog named Old Man Fred that explores how one might make that choice for a pet and the unexpected ways that choice could work out. And Kelly joins us. Kelly, thank you for being with us. Welcome, and thank you so much for your story.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me to share the story.
Well, I have to tell you this. We are not going to rehash the story on this podcast because everybody needs to go to healingmagazine.org and read this wonderful piece that you've written. I want to note something to you. We obviously, when we get the stories in, we share them around here. We do some editing. We do some proofreading, layout. I was really astonished with the intense emotional reaction all of the folks here who had some role in that had to your story. And I'm wondering if, I know you've shared the story a number of times, is that common? Do you find that people really do respond in the same way, which is a little bit, I guess, both heartbreaking and life-affirming? Yeah. Is that how people react commonly?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been 1.5 years since we lost Fred, and I still have people come up to me and say, "You're Fred's mom." So yeah, it does. I think it resonated with people on lots of levels, but I think most importantly, the human connection that we have with each other, with animals, just in general. And I think that tapped into that because it was very real, and we kind of laid it out as it was, and no real filter. And I think people appreciated that.
I think so. I think that's exactly what I got back in feedback from the people who read it here. In the article, you are very honest about your own struggles and challenges. And you noted that caring for Fred and the other homeless pets at the shelter helps in dealing with those issues. Why do you think that's so?
Well, I think what it is, and it took me a while to figure out what it was, actually. This process has been a long time coming, and this was the first time I've actually shared it publicly. And I think my love for him and what I do gave me sort of the courage to be okay with it. But I think what it is that when you are focused on caring about someone else and putting all your effort into them, you sort of take a back seat to what you're feeling and what you're thinking, and it works itself out. And I think that's what I found, that putting my focus on Fred and his needs and my other dogs, because I have 6 others, now 7 total. But, I think that helped me to put my focus on something else beyond my needs and what I was going through.
That's really interesting. I think people forget that sometimes you need to get that a little bit more into the subconscious and help it work out so it's not, I always use the phrase, you're not chewing on it all the time.
Right.
And that helps, especially when you have creatures that need you to walk them and feed them, et cetera, et cetera. In the article, you talk about, in the midst of your time with Fred, you started a Facebook show, I guess it's called, Feel Good Fridays with Fred. Can you talk a little bit about the reaction that you got from literally the thousands of people who started coming every week to follow your adventures?
Yeah, so the first one started with the day that I actually brought him home. And we just did a quick, hey, this is what's happening, this is who we are and what we're doing, and we're going to check in with you on a daily basis. It started with a daily basis. And then as Fred was actually doing pretty well, I thought, well, I can't do this every day. So it became Feel Good Fridays with Fred. And again, I think it just tapped into that natural reaction you have to want to be part of something good and to feel connected in some way. I mean, there's lots of animal shelters, there's lots of animals, there's lots of unfortunately dying animals, but I think it was the human connection that Fred and I were a pair. And honestly, if you went anywhere in this Lehigh Valley over that year or that time period, you would see him and I together. So I think it was a real thing for people that they could connect to, and we were part of their family, so to speak, and they would check in to see how their family was doing.
And it's interesting because Fred really was he kind of was a star. He had that quality. And, as you describe him in the article, one thing that came to mind was Fred was a very good companion. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, do you miss your time together with him?
All the time. It's interesting because at the time I had 6 other dogs and I loved them all for different reasons. But he did and still holds a place in my heart that was so different from the rest of the dogs. He was meant to come into my life. He was meant to be there at that time. And you don't replicate that and you don't ever forget that. So there's times that I will look around and just kind of still look for him, or something will happen, especially when I'm eating cheeseburgers. I think of him. So yes, I miss him. There's not a day goes by that I miss him. And it also doesn't feel as long as it's been. I mean, it feels like it just happened yesterday, and it's been 1.5 years. So,
wow.
Yeah.
How can folks get more information about what you're doing at the Center for Animal Health and Welfare?
So we have a great Facebook. It's facebook.com and it's CAHW1. If you want to feel connected to what we do, every Saturday we do a live feed called Poffy Talk, and it's the good, bad, and hilarious of all things four-legged. And it's so much fun because, again, it taps into that human connection. It's real. Sometimes I mess up my words. Sometimes I say things that maybe I shouldn't say. But we found in the rescue world that we have real emotions and we have real experiences, and I think people really connect to that. So that's a fun way to sort of get involved and put your 2 cents in and have fun with it. And then, of course, you can visit us at healthyanimalcenter.org, which is our website. It has all of our events, all the dogs and cats that we have available, and all the upcoming things we've got going on.
You guys are doing great work, and I follow it, and it's just wonderful. Finally, the folks that are familiar with our podcast know that we often ask our guests for what we call life hack. Now, this is a piece of advice or a wise saying in their lives. And I think the one that you ended your article with is one of the best that we've ever heard. Would you mind sharing that with us to close us out?
I would. It is, be the person your dog or cat thinks you are. In my case, it's be the person my dog thinks I am. If you think about it, no one looks at you with more admiration, love, commitment, dedication than your animal. They believe that you are the person that they think you are, and they believe that you're good. And if we could all just be good and be that person our dog thinks we are, it would be a better world.
Kelly Bauer is Executive Director of the Center for Animal Health and Welfare in Easton, Pennsylvania, and her tribute to her friend Fred is in the latest issue of Healing Magazine. My friend, thank you for being with us,
Thank you so much.
Thank you again for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.